My name is David Gray, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief of Staff for Richmond Mayor Tom Butt. And tonight I have the honor of serving as the moderator for tonight's School Board Candidate Forum, which is generously sponsored by the League of Women Voters and the West Contra Costa Unified School District. Throughout its 90-year history, the League of Women Voters has been a trusted, nonpartisan political organization. The members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While they never endorse a candidate, they are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. League of Women Voters members have the opportunity to contribute in leadership roles that have a great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I would encourage you to pick up some of the League's information available tonight, or you can visit their Facebook page. The League places an emphasis on voting. Voter registration drives, registration in high schools, and efforts to streamline voter registration laws are all a continuing part of the League's activities. The League also produces voter guides for every election and distributes them throughout Contra Costa County. These publications provide nonpartisan information on candidates and ballot issues. The League has been a voice for sound government practices. This commitment will prevail in this century and beyond. Now, I would like to present to the board candidates, my timekeeper, Ms. Jennifer Dow. And my Jennifer. Timekeeping's not easy, but somebody has to do it, so thank you, Jennifer. And I would also like to present some ground rules for tonight's forum. First, please make sure that all of your electronic devices are placed on silent. Great. I would ask that the audience members please hold your applause until the completion of the forum. And in terms of answering questions, we'll begin with the first person sitting to my right, which is the panel's left, so that would be you, Ms. Young. So you'll answer the first question first, and then we'll proceed down the panel. And then the second person will answer the next question first, and we'll proceed down the panel. That way everybody gets a chance to answer some questions first and some questions last. Sounds good? Sounds good. Any questions? All right, well, let's rock and roll. So first, we'll start with each candidate having a minute and a half to make opening statements. So we'll begin with you, Ms. Young.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ayana Young. I am running for school board because I have a vested interest in the success of this district. I am a mother, and I have 7 kids. 4 of them are currently in the district at Stewart, which is in Pinole. It's a K through 8. And I have 3 older kids that have already graduated. So I have a very, very vested interest in making sure that the district is successful so that my own kids can get a quality education. I want to make this the destination district, and what that means is that other people will want to flock to our city so that they can go to our schools because they'll be ensured that they can have a quality education. And we can do that when we change the approach, the educational approach that we have in this district, one that's remedial to a more superior approach where we put math and science as a priority, and also we bring the arts back and make sure that they are a priority. I am the director of the talent show. I'm very involved in the PTA, and so the arts is a very, very important topic for me, and I want to see it brought back into the school district. I am an attorney, and before I was an attorney, I was going to be a special ed teacher, so I have a lot of love and respect for teachers and teaching, and I want to bring the passion that I have for students, for learning, to this board. I want to bring a good attitude, and there's so much I could tell you, but I only have a little bit of time, so hopefully you'll get to hear more about me, but you can visit me on Facebook and see all of my videos. All right, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Taboada, and I'm also running for school board. Let me tell you something about myself. I'm a retired teacher with 21 years experience in our schools. I have a vested interest in our district. I have one of my sons went to our schools, and I'm also a proud grandfather of a child who will soon be attending our schools. And during my 21 years in our district, I know firsthand what our students and what our teachers need and what our district needs in order to be successful. Our students, of course, they need safe schools, actualized textbooks with appropriate technology, caring teachers, and most of all, small-sized classrooms. That's the one interest that our students have with teachers, because our teachers need two small-sized classrooms. We also need adequate compensation, but a small-sized classroom is essential for discipline. I know that teaching and raising children is a shared responsibility that we all share. Parents, students, teachers, community members, board members, and I hope to bring everyone together. I think I have the district-wide vision necessary to make our children succeed and have our district reach its full potential. Thank you very much.
Good evening all. My name is Marina Stephanie Sequeira. Most people know me as Stephanie. I've been the district's LCAP member, the Local Control Accountability Plan Committee member for the past 3 years. I've been a multilingual district advisory member for the past 5 years, co-chair of that committee. I'm currently the president of my Children's School Site Council, as well as president of the ELAC Committee, English Language Learner Advisory Committee. I've been actively involved in my children's education for the past 7 years, which would be either participating in the district committee or any school site council that there is for me as a parent to participate. I took it upon myself to run, mostly because as being involved as a parent, my voice hasn't been heard at the tables as these committees that we're supposed to have a parent participation. I've seen the struggle as a parent that as much as we know and we're the experts at what our children need, we're not heard, our recommendations aren't being heard. So I took it upon myself to move it up to a bigger table and say, this is where the decisions are being made, I can participate and my voice can be heard. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the League for putting this on. This is always a good thing that you do to let the voters know where the candidates stand on the issues. And I'd like to thank all of the people in the audience for coming out tonight. My name is Mr. Phillips. I am running for the school board for one reason. I want to help every child in our district to achieve their full potential. I have a vision for this district. I want every single child in our district to attend a safe school where they're engaged and able to achieve academically. I believe we can do that if we focus on 5 things. The first thing is student safety. Second, school engagement. Student engagement. Third, academic achievement. Fourth, employee morale. And fifth, parental involvement. I think if we really focus on these 5 things, we will have the difference between night and day in our district. I will tell you very briefly a little bit about myself. I am an attorney, which many of you know, but I also used to be a teacher. I used to teach in this district. I also taught in San Francisco Unified. In addition to that, I'm a parent in this district. I have a first grader that attends a traditional public school in the city of Richmond. So, and in addition to that, I actually attended school here myself. So I've been around a long time. Actually, I'm 4th generation West County. So I really do have a vested interest in this district, just like the other candidates. And I believe that I have the background and experience to really make a difference. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Tom Panis. I'd like to thank the League and the district for putting this on. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. I've lived in West County for more than 40 years. I care very deeply about my community. I've been involved in so many different ways in my community. In fact, so much so that the City Council put me on our Wall of Fame 2 years ago. I've got a lot of support from people all over the district. City Council people have endorsed me. George Miller endorsed me, East Bay Times endorsed me. I know that all our kids can succeed. We have a lot of really bright kids. We just need to make sure we give our teachers and our schools all the supports they need to make sure that every student can succeed. I haven't just been involved in El Cerrito. I've been involved in Richmond Emergency Food Pantry, the RISE Center, Latina Center Parents Group, Black Minds Matter Strategy Team. Every child deserves a great school, and that's why I'm running for school board. I want to see improved academic performance for all students. I want to see us engaging parents, teachers, students. We need to elevate the community voice and start listening better. I want to see a focus on teaching. I want to see improved financial oversight and accountability, and I want to see safe schools. Strong schools empower our community, and I ask you to vote for me. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Don Gosney, and I want to represent you on the school board. Thank you all for coming here tonight. I'm sure you all had many, many other things that would have been a lot more fun than being here with us tonight. Who here in the room thinks that maybe the school district is heading it off in the wrong direction? I know I do. Because, you know, education is a silver bullet that can solve so many of our problems in our community. And our board seems to have lost focus on that. And we had a board meeting about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and a 2.5-hour meeting, short by their standards. I don't recall them even talking about education during that meeting. It seems like they want to talk about everything but that. They've got all kinds of special interest groups and advisors that are pointing them in a different direction other than education. They want to talk about charters. They want to talk about the bond program, investigations and finger pointing. They want to talk about campaign finance reform. And these are all important items. I think we all agree on that. But are they as important as educating our kids? I don't think so. Again, we have too many groups in our community trying to divide us. Whether it's the charters versus non-charters, whether it's the North District versus the South District, whether it's the Hill people versus the Flatlanders, you know, the white versus the purple versus the pink people. Yeah, everybody wants to fight with each other instead of getting together, working together to try to find the best way to educate our kids. And that's what I'd like to try to do, is to refocus our attentions on something like that. And I think the key to that is communication. We're not talking with each other anymore. Maybe we're talking at each other, but we have too many people in our community and too many people on the board that won't listen to anybody that is outside of their own core group.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Antonio Medrano, retired teacher, community college and high school, founder of ethnic studies at College of Marin, retired from San Francisco Unified, a proud grandfather of 2 young kids in the Sacramento area, and my older grandkids, one of them's now 20, my daughter reminded me of that, and I go, it's impossible, he's still 16, he can't be that old. My granddaughter's a senior in high school. All my own kids, now adults, attended public schools. My grandkids attend public schools. To me, it's the core of our democracy. I served on your school board before, between 2008 and 2012. At that time, we were in the middle of the incredible financial crisis, where we almost had to close some schools, and 2 cities stepped up and helped us out. One, the smallest city in West County, San Pablo, and the other one, Richmond, California. And so we didn't have to close any schools. I look for your support again. I'm a community activist, very involved in the community, retired teacher, and former school board member. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. For the next round of questions, you're each going to have 1 minute to respond, and Jennifer will do a good job informing you when you have 30 seconds left and then when your time has expired. I'd also like to remind you that for the next round of questions, we'll then begin with the next candidate and move down, and the next candidate and move down, and now everybody has a chance to answer 1 question first, and everybody has a chance to think about their answers to the questions. That seems fair. So we received, in this short period of time, several questions on this topic. Over the past several years, several charter schools have been established throughout our district, and the school district forecast more schools to be constructed in the near future. Candidates, what is your position on charter schools? And what role do you believe that charter schools play in the West Contra Costa Unified School District? We'll begin with you. Yes, sir.
Well, I think that what we need to do is reframe the discourse on charter schools. I think buzzwords like choice and competition are often used to push for charters, but I think that a more appropriate framing of the discourse could be taken from the biological science, particularly parasitology. A parasite is a pathogen that injures its host at the same time that it draws sustenance from it. I think that analogy best describes the relationship between charter schools and real public education. I think that they are a threat to our democracy. I think that real public school system is the best safeguard to democracy, and I think that corporate education is financially irresponsible. I am against diverting tax-generated revenues to corporate education. That's my position on charter schools. Thank you.
As a parent my 3 kids attend Chavez Elementary. I've decided as a parent to stick it through with the district. I'm going to fight what pertains to my children, the best education that the district or traditional schools can provide. I noticed that most of my friends and families have decided to take the other route, but who am I as a parent to tell them what do you believe is the best education? I might not support how the system runs or anything of that, but I do support that the parents have a right to choose. I understand how the funding works, but as a parent, that's why I've taken the decision to run for the district, for a school board member, to understand what the needs are and make sure that our parents continue to stay within their district instead of finding a different route. We need to make sure that our district is the best quality education that they can provide, that our parents feel welcome, that the staff feel okay with it, that we feel supported all around, and a community school can be a community school.
I do not support the privatization of public education. I understand why some parents do. Frankly, we have 21 schools in our district that have failed to meet state standards for multiple years in a row. And we have to address that. I know there are many people who want to stop the influx of charters in our district, and I'm saying this right now, we won't be able to do that unless we fix the issues in our neighborhood schools. I spoke earlier about 5 things that we can focus on to get that done. That's school safety, student engagement, academic achievement, employee morale, and parental involvement. I believe that we really do focus on those things. We will bolster our neighborhood schools, and that's what I plan to do if I'm fortunate enough to be a representative on the school board. Thank you.
I don't want to see us have a district full of charter schools. My 2 sons both went to district schools, and I was very happy about that. But right now, I don't see how I should be telling each parent where to send their kid to school. I really want to work as hard as I can to make sure that all our schools are great schools, that we get our poor performing schools up, that we get all our schools up, and I intend to spend a lot of time with my financial background looking at the budget, looking at the bond program, making sure that all the money is going to the right place to make sure that all our schools are great schools. In my mind, if all our schools are great schools, if every child, their constitutional right to a good education is being fulfilled, the charter school problem will go away.
I can't support any educational model that takes finances away from educating our kids, and I worry that the charter schools are doing that with some duplication of efforts. And so, it doesn't matter what we think about charter schools. The voters of this state, not once but twice, passed statewide propositions saying that they are the law of this land. So they are here. We can't do anything about them unless we vote them out of existence. And I says, we already offer school choices on our traditional schools. You can pick and choose which school. You don't want to go to El Cerrito High School, you can go to Kennedy High School or De Anza, whatever you want. But now that you get some students, parents that want to send their kids to charter schools instead. What really concerns me, though, is when charter school groups come into this community and start throwing around hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to buy an election. 2 years ago, $646,000. So far this year, neighborhood of $350,000. We can expect more. What do they expect to get back for that kind of an investment? And where are they getting the money? Are they taking away from the educational dollars?
My concern is lack of oversight. When I served for 2 terms on the Contra Costa Grand Jury, our job was simply look at how public money, tax money is being spent. You must have an elected board to oversee that. That does not exist within the charter movement. The corporate headquarters are either in San Jose or Los Angeles, one or the other. 3 major organizations have raised serious concerns about limiting the access of students who have poor grades, don't speak fluent English, access to the charter schools. The ACLU is one. They have a position paper on charter schools. California Teachers Association also issued a paper on charter schools, and the NAACP of California has issued a position paper on charter schools. I think it's taken away money from our district. We have to be careful with that. But again, we have to treat our parents with respect. When our parents tell me that they left the school because they were mistreated, then we have to correct that. Deal with our parents and students with respect that they deserve.
I think the question was, where do you stand on charters? And the way I feel about charters is I felt that they were a place where they could explore educational approaches. You know, performing arts, I think you guys see a trend with me with arts, how important that is. But it doesn't seem to be happening in this district. What it seems, in this district, we have a lot of duplication in terms of the charter schools where they're not exploring educational approaches. They're just in there with computers, which we can do in the traditional public schools. And then they take resources from the traditional public schools to the lack of the rest of the children in the district. And that's where my concern is, because while I believe that parents should have a choice, I also believe that it takes a village to raise children, and we have to work together. We have to make sure we take care of everyone's kids. So when we are talking about charters and we know that they create a lack in traditional public schools, we have to stop that so we can ensure that all of the students in this district, not only the ones that attend charter schools, can get a successful education.
Thank you, candidates. Families across Contra Costa County and West Contra Costa County in particular pay among the highest parcel taxes in the Bay Area. Yet many find themselves constantly concerned about the financial state of our school district and how the school district spends its money. If you are elected to the school board, what is your plan for ensuring that our district remains on sound financial footing and incorporates sound financial practices?
I mean, currently being on the LCAP, as an LCAP member, we've only gotten to really see the budget where the supplement and concentration comes in. We don't see the full base as to what's being paid for. Same thing with other committees. You don't get the full balance. So it's like you don't have a clear understanding of what's being paid for, what services, or what's already being duplicated. So being on the board, it's something that you can look at across the table. Do we have duplication? Some of the positions at self-serve staff, we're overly paying, or we have so many positions that you don't understand what the needs are, and we're not really sending the funds to the sites where the school needs to really understand the academics of the students. Each school has their different needs, and we need to start looking at how is it that we're looking at the top and looking down to making sure the funding and the programs service the needs of the students instead of the needs of the adults.
So I had the honor of representing West County on the first 5 Contra Costa Children and Families Commission. I was the appointee of Supervisor John Joya. That is an independent, standalone government agency. We have a budget of approximately $40 million a year, so it's not an advisory committee. That committee makes the decisions. One of the things that I did on that committee as your representative was try to make sure that the money we were spending was being spent on things that had been proven to work for kids. I don't believe in just throwing money at things. I believe we have to make sure that if we're investing our resources that they are spent wisely. And then we also have to make sure that we're doing site visits. And I did many site visits for First 5 Contra Costa to make sure that our monies were being spent correctly. So I would do the same thing again if I was fortunate enough to represent you all on the school board. Thank you.
So I'm a retired CPA and Chief Financial Officer from 2 different companies. I have a lot of experience looking at budgets, a lot of experience deciding how to spend money. I'm the person who found a $900,000 error in our audited financial statements of the school district. I know what's going on, and I'm very concerned, not from a perspective of something going wrong, but I don't think there's anybody on the board right now who has enough of a financial background to be asking the right questions. For example, our budgeting process right now. On one side over here, we're working on the budget. Other side over here, we're looking at the LCAP. And in my mind, the LCAP should be driving the budget, and we should be extracting and calculating the budget numbers based on the priorities in the LCAP. We're not doing that. So if we're going to be most effective in getting our kids a great education, we need to start with the LCAP. Those numbers drive the budget drives how we spend our money.
I think one of the keys is to make sure you've got qualified staff in place, and right now our Chief of Finance, Sherry Gamma, is tops. I have full faith in her. But you need to have other staff members, you need to have board members that are also qualified. Too many times we want to go out there and hire consultants so that we can get one-time use only reports that nobody reads, nobody pays any attention to. We've got a lot of good qualified people. Let's spend that money to train our own staff people so that we can reuse them over and over and over again to pay attention to these kinds of things. But even with the board members, we got to use some common sense. You don't spend what you don't have. And also, I mean, if Susie wants a new pair of shoes and the wallet is empty, you got to be able to tell Susie, I says, no, we can't afford this right now. We're going to have to save and scrimp until we can afford it. As we haven't been doing that, especially with our bond program. We've been giving too many of the members of the community things that they want when we had no way to pay for it.
Partial tax money. Before I was on the school board in 2008, I served on the Budget Advisory Committee. During the time I was on the school board, I was the board representative on the Budget Advisory Committee, and I'm serving on it again. We asked a lot of questions about where's the money going, where's the partial tax money? Why can't a parent at Richmond High, Lake, Perry's, whatever, ask the principal, how much money are we getting from the partial tax? What's it going for? We asked so many questions that the committee was dissolved. There's going to be apparently a new partial tax advisory committee. I hope to be on it if I'm elected. Thank you.
May I ask you to read the question again, please?
Sure. The crux of the question is that many school district residents are concerned about the financial condition of our district. If you are elected to the board, what steps will you take to ensure that our district remains on sound financial footing and incorporates sound financial practices?
So I think transparency is the biggest issue. The first thing is that people don't know the difference between like the parcel tax and then the bond money. So I think that we need to do a better job of educating our community so that they know what the parcel tax is, what the parcel tax pays for. A lot of times I hear people saying, you know, we should use the money that they have for building and put it into programs. Well, we can't do that, and a lot of the public doesn't know that. So we need to educate our community on how we spend our money, what budget takes care of what resources. And the way that I would do that as a board member, I'm not a CPA, and I'm an attorney because I wasn't that great in math, but we have staff that we can depend on. The board has to make sure that we use our resources in terms of who we have hired to do these jobs, and I think that to focus on what our staff is saying in terms of our finances, to take in their whatever their, I'm sorry, my time is up now, so I have to stop. I have to try to answer that in some other form. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah.
She's got a defective clock.
Yes.
Don't question the first class.
Okay, well, you started out with the parcel tax, and I think that we should know that the parcel tax is audited yearly, and that the way, in my opinion, the way to make sure that the LCAP funds are spent where they should be spent, educating our children, it should be to have each school and also each school determine what are its instructional needs. We need to have our teachers with the autonomy to tailor their instruction to fit the needs of the children in front of them. We have this hideous approach of one size fits all, regardless of the many differences that we have between our different sites. So, and I also have to add that I mentioned it earlier in the last question that it is an act of financial irresponsibility to think that we have the obligation to subsidize corporate education. The amounts are in the tens of millions of dollars. Just you mentioned the parcel tax. Well, we should know that 20% of our parcel tax money won't be used to serve the needs of our public school children. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. The next question comes from a member of the audience. I heard a rumor that some of the candidates said that he or she will close our adult school. The adult school serves between 7,000 and 10,000 students each year. Adult education funding is separate from K-12 funding, and if the adult school was closed, the money would go back to the state, not back to the school district. In your opinion, should the school district close the adult school? And Mr. Phillips, I believe you're first up.
So I'm going to back up just a moment. I did say something about making sure that our district is on good financial footing and what I would do, and I talked about my experience with First Five. But the other thing that we all can do to make sure that our district stays on good financial footing is actually to vote for Measure T. I encourage all of you to do that. Those funds are very important in making sure that we have the services that we need in our district. I'm voting for it. I hope you will too. As far as your question is concerned, David, no, I don't believe the adult school should be closed. In one of my other lives, I actually was a GED instructor. So I think that that is very important, and that's something that I support. Thank you.
So I certainly support our adult education. It's very important. I've gone to our adult education classes, and they were very useful to me at many times when I started new jobs. I really appreciated that. It's very important to our Latin community and many other people. And I don't know why we'd want to close it, because when you look at the numbers, our adult education program is a self-sustaining enterprise. You know, we charge fees, and that pays for the teachers. So closing a program that's paying for itself does not make any sense at all to me.
It's interesting, we get this question earlier today. Most of us were at the Senior Citizen Center on a forum, and that's all they wanted to talk about. So, yeah. So we're playing on that. I fully support the adult school for many, many reasons. First off, for English as a second language, all you got to do is attend one of our school board meetings where there's a rumor that they're going to cut back on that, and you see it packed in there, where you've got these parents speaking to the board saying, I need to learn how to speak English so I can help my kids with their homework. That doesn't bring a tear to your eye. I don't know what will. But we also need to be able to help our kids with working for their GED. We've got a lot of that in this district. Vocational education, because not everybody is going to be going to college and going into the tech world. And then we've also got, of course, the senior classes. We can't give up on the seniors, because some of us are there already.
During the financial crisis back in 2008, most school districts in California simply closed the adult schools and took the money into the general budget. I was one of the board members who said we should not close the adult school. The parents need it so they can learn the language and help their students, sons and daughters in school. From a budget of $4 million, we reduced it down to $1 million. I was dissatisfied, but at least we saved that core. We need to save it. It's important. It's part of our instructional seeds for the students and for the parents. It needs to be kept.
Okay, so yes, we were talking about adult education today, and at the Senior Citizen Center, and I was talking to some of the seniors, and he was saying how they wanted to get rid of the senior program about 4 years ago, and he went down to make sure that that didn't happen. And as far as I'm concerned in terms of the adult education, it seems that it funds more than just one school. And so what I have said is to look at the how much money is being spent, and if we can reallocate some of that in terms of sending some of using the resources from Contra Costa College, using the resources there, because you can do concurrent enrollment. You can take up to 5 units there and only pay $1. So I was saying to use some of those resources if it could help us with the financing of adult education. But if adult education is funded and the money goes back to the state, then why close it? So I would not be for just closing the adult education program just to close it. I was only looking at things in the financial part of it.
Certainly, I think that we should not close the adult school programs. In fact, it's one of the points in my campaign, little flyers here, is support adult school programs. I think the adult school is one of the links that we have with the community. I think that the school, we often talk about educating the whole child. I think that we are in the business really of educating the whole community. This adult school gives an excellent service to our students and to their parents. I think that we should not only not close it, I think that we should strengthen it and support it. We need more apprenticeship, we need more trade, vocational training, and it is a great vehicle for adults to retool, to learn new skills, to be able to stay competitive in the new labor market that we all have to face. Well, I'm retired now, I don't have to face that. But certainly, support for the adult school programs is will be one of my top priorities.
I think I'm in full support of the adult school. If we look at most of the schools, or most of the parents I know, some of the schools aren't being helped with ESL classes, and they're demanding it, and we can't, right now there's no budget for it. As well as, I don't know how many of you are aware of Parent University. We have the adult ed teachers partnering with the school community outreach worker and supplying these classes. I took it, and the adult ed teacher that provided the class to me, I commended Mr. Ken Ryan, was very knowledgeable. There were certain things I didn't know about the district. How do you communicate? How can you build partnership with the district staff, with the principal teachers, what the system, what the requirements are to make complaints or to even commend different staff that have been doing different jobs. So even the program itself of Parent University, educating at my children's school last year, was 35 parents that graduated and now feel more at ease to enter the school and support the students. So it's how do we start building more relationship with the adult ed to provide more classes for those parents that need it the most.
Great, thank you, candidates. The next question is, how will you ensure that parents have a voice in school district decisions and do not feel intimidated or ignored by teachers, principals, and administrators?
So we need to take a careful look at how we're communicating with our parents. I mean, for example, 3 years ago, Comcast did a study and told us that 90 or 95% of our parents have smartphones, yet we've failed to really pick up on sending text messages to parents. That would be so useful. But beyond that, we need to make sure that whenever we have a meeting, it's at a time that's convenient for parents. And you know, in some schools, that could well be in the middle of the day. For other students, it's at the end of the day. So we need to make sure we're scheduling meetings at the right time, but we need to make sure that we always have adequate translation. We need to make sure that documents are in Spanish. We need to make sure that we're using every possible method, and also that, for example, school site committee meetings, we need to be posting those outside the school, maybe have signs outside the school. In many schools, you only see school site committee meetings posted inside where parents would never see them if they just drop off their kids. They would never see if they don't go inside.
I think one of the first things we need to do is make sure that the board members let the public know, hey, I'm here for you. You want to call me, you want to text me, you want to email me, I will actually pick up the phone. I will answer, I will respond. And you try talking to as many of your school board members right now. Mr. Groves picks up the phone. I thank you for that. But some of the others do not. They will not talk to anybody that was not part of their core support group. You've got to stop that. I think I'm one of 2, maybe 3 people left in the phone book. You go online, you can find my phone number, you can find my name, my email addresses, multiples. I'm not hard to get a hold of. I said, but we need to take advantage of text, blast emails, social media. You take advantage of your Facebook, take advantage of some of the online newspapers we've got in the area, the Patch newspapers, the Standard, Radio Free Richmond, the Sun, Tom Butsey Forum. There are all kinds of ways we can get information out. But we need to make sure that the parents understand that these administrators at the schools, these teachers at the school, they work for you. And if they're giving you a rough time, then they need to be able to go to the school board members so school board members can slap them down.
We have structures in place that parents take part in. School site councils that decide how the funds are spent. Those parents in the school site councils will be able to ask their local principal, where's the money going? Why don't we have an extra secretary, an extra counselor, or whatever the need might be. 2, the local control funding formula, parent organization. They need to listen to the parents in that group because they're parents of low income, English language, and foster kids. The board should respond to their questions. Where is the money going? Also, we also have the monthly parent meetings at our schools. Richmond has every Friday morning, 25 to 30 parents show up. Be honest and answer the questions from those parents. If you don't speak Spanish, I'll volunteer to translate for you. And I've told the parents, I served in an oversight committee looking at the local control funding formula, where we told the parents, if you're embarrassed or afraid to speak at a school board, call me. And I've been there where I stand next to them and give them the encouragement to speak to the board. Thank you.
Well, I'm a parent, so, what I see at my school and with my kids is that parents are discouraged right now. I am also a member of the African American Parent Group, and we started with about 40 people, and it's dwindled down to about 6 people because parents are discouraged about their children, about the education of their children. So what we need to do is get on the ball with educating kids, making sure that our students are getting an education, because once we focus on the students, the parents will come. And I can't speak for every parent. I'm a parent. I talk to a lot of African American parents, and this is where we are coming from, especially on this side of the district where I am. I'm in Pinole and Hercules, and we want something done in terms of education. When that happens, parents will come. You know, we can text them and let them know. We even feed them at the African American Parent Group. We have greens, macaroni cheese, fried chicken, and we still only getting 6 people. We need to change the education. Our kids need to be educated. That's what we need to focus on.
I said earlier that our public school system is the best assurance that we can have to reinforce and support our democratic values in our society. And I think we should make it a policy never to take a decision without consulting those affected by it. And that's the parents and that is the students as well. I will reinforce the already existing mechanisms, encourage participation in the LCAP committees, encourage participation at the school sites and in the school site council. That's where parents, teachers, and staff come together. And I will also be more imaginative. I think that we could find, I was thinking also we could have a radio show. I'm sure KPFA, we could manage to have a program, a bilingual program. We could even call it the District and You, where questions could be raised, where voices of the community could be heard. And I think that will be the way to ensure that parents fully participate in their district's life. Thank you.
I believe the leadership sets the tone. And this year, this is my children's 2nd year that the principal has made an impact on how the community is involved. If the principal is not willing to open up the arms, make sure that the staff understands that parents should feel welcome, it's not going to matter how much you try to make a difference. These have been the marvelous 2 years having that principal open up the space. We have a parent room. We have where parents can come and open up and talk. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen to most of the schools within the flat San Pablo. And I've just heard some of the schools in Pinole don't have that access. So it's how do you make that school make sure that the principal makes the families feel welcome. They're here willing to learn. They're here making sure they want to be a partner. They don't want to be a nuisance. We're here just to educate ourselves on how we can support our students. There's so many different ways that the children are learning now that is not the same how I learned, just memorize the tables and that's it. Now you really have to understand what your child needs in order to answer one single math problem. And it's how do you make sure that the leadership understands parents want to support, but you have to make them feel supported as well.
So I don't accept any campaign contributions from charter school groups or from school construction firms. I say that now because I want people to know that the only interest that I represent is the community interest. And right now we're talking about parents. I am a district parent, and when we talk about the disconnect, when we talk about parents not being meaningfully included in the education of their children, I strongly believe it's because we don't have a district parent on the board. There is a disconnect because the individuals on the board, although they are extremely well-meaning, don't have kids in our schools. So I want to be an advocate for the parents on the board. I am an attorney. I advocate for a living. I think I would do a great job at it, and I've already started. For example, I created a Facebook discussion group to make sure that the community has an opportunity to speak about issues, and I'll talk about the rest later on. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Next question comes from a member of our audience. Most of the candidates have emphasized a need to create safe schools. How safe are our schools, and what steps are needed to improve or better ensure safety for teachers and for students?
I wait for that question the whole campaign season. I don't know about you, but when I went to school, we didn't have police cars parked out in the front front patio of our schools. We didn't have armed police officers roaming around our schools. We had Johnny Holmes, and Johnny Holmes, just by the presence of Johnny Holmes, we all knew to respect him because we didn't want to get on the wrong side of him. But he didn't pack a gun, he couldn't threaten us, he couldn't arrest us. But what does it say about our schools? That we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to have armed police officers roaming our schools. We got ourselves a problem here. One of the solutions that we can have are some great restorative justice tools that we can take advantage of as to help to de-escalate the problems, to defuse the problems. You know, sometimes it's just body language, it's tone of voice. You know, work with the kids themselves so that the kids have a peer group where they can help de-escalate the situation. Maybe it's something at home that's causing the problem. You know, family problems, domestic violence problems, all kinds of issues could be happening. But there are solutions to the problems that can keep things from escalating to out of control.
Safety is a big concern of mine. I remember when I was subbing at Richmond High, even after I retired, and there was an incident that happened on 23rd Street, and the young man came, almost crawled all the way to Richmond High to the main office, and he passed away in the hallway. Because to him, that was a safe spot for him. I tried repeatedly when I was on the board to get the police removed from the schools, but every time we tried that, we got an outpouring from the community saying, don't take them out. In the previous years, we had some drug problems and some gang problems in the Richmond-San Pablo area. Maybe the time has come to rethink it now and use that money for educational matters.
So I graduated from Pinole back in 1994, and we had two officers, Ricky and Mr. Tanaka, and we loved them. They were there. They had a good relationship with most of the students, and we felt safe with them being there. So I don't think that it's necessary that the fact that the police are at the school sites is the relationships that we have with them. I think it's very important that that we really work on the relationships between the police officers and the students. But more importantly, I believe that when students are educated and they feel secure in their education, then they are concentrating on that when they're at school rather than all of the other stuff that goes on with the social media and things like that. And so I think it's important for us to make sure that we educate these students so that they are focusing on learning. School should be a sanctuary. Many of the students in this district, they live a traumatic lifestyle. And so they need to come to a place where they feel like, oh, I'm safe. I can get something to eat. I can learn. I'm in a good place. That's what we need to do for this district.
That's a very interesting question. What do we need to make our schools safe for our children and for teachers as well? I think that we should know that our students act out in the ways that they do oftentimes because they are young, they are full of energy, and they are bored, they are fed up, and they are angry. And one reason I think is because our instruction programs are not engaging. They are not responding to the real needs. I think we need more hands. We need smaller class sizes, of course. We also need more hands-on. It's an old tradition in American education, going back to the times of John Dewey, that you learn by doing. It seems to me that we have taken an approach that you learn by sitting down, being quiet, and listening. And I repeat, our students act out because they are young, full of energy, and they are bored, and they are fed up. Thank you. And also, of course, we need rational discipline, and we should not use punitive.
Thank you, sir. Your time's expired. Thank you.
All right.
I know that currently the district is planning different programs, whether it be elementary or high school level, whether it be restorative justice, mindfulness, toolbox. So there's so many programs, but we can't honestly say which one pinpoints or which one helps the school safety. It was sad to hear from a parent at Chavez that her child had a witness. I guess there was about 6 fights 2 weeks ago in Richmond High, and they're not reported to parents. Parents aren't aware unless your son or your daughter tells you at home, hey, this fight happened. You're unaware. The schools aren't calling. We had another parent where I used to work come up to us and say, you know what, my son just came from El Salvador in January. He's been harassed multiple times. We made a police report. They're not listening to us. They made the child stand in front of the 6 assailants there, threatening him to kill him. And they had told him, once they come up, don't say anything. But they never resolved anything. So she took her son out. We were able to make a letter to the school staff, the superintendent, the school board members. Within a week, he was able to transfer out of that middle school from Dijon and go to Korematsu. It's not good for having families to pull out your children because you're not feeling safe. Your child is feeling that they're getting threatened. You're making police reports. We need to change this.
So school safety means multiple things to me. It means making sure that our campuses are physically secure, okay? But it also means making sure that we have a proper climate so that the children actually feel comfortable when they're on campus. It means making sure that we have safe play equipment. It means making sure that we have safe buildings. I talk about school safety, but I just want you to know that when I talk about that, I really mean it in its broadest sense. Now, I think you asked specifically how safe are our schools. Is that what you?
That was part of the question.
Okay. It depends on what school we're talking about. Because the truth is there are differences at the schools, right? Some of the things are common, like making sure that there's not bullying going on. But some of the other things are more serious. In the last 2 weeks, for example, I was told that at one of our high schools, a student was molested. I was also told in the last 2 weeks at one of our high schools that an employee actually choked out a student. So it really depends on which school we're talking about.
So I see that we have a serious problem with school climate at a number of our schools. There needs to be a clear statement of expectations from the top. It's the board, that's the superintendent, that bullying, harassment, discrimination, retaliation are unacceptable. And I think every staff member needs clear training in that, and that same training should be offered to the students and teachers. We have a number of programs going on, Mindful Life, Toolbox. We're working on some restorative techniques. Just a few weeks ago, I met with one of the people from Public Council, a well-known organization that deals with restorative techniques, and the Cerrito police chief, and we talked a lot about the subject. We need to have a lot of conversations about how we're going to do this, but number one, we have to go to our kids and stop saying, what's wrong with you? We need to go to them and say, what happened to you? How can we help you get better? And I really like the James Morehouse Center. Does that very well at EC High.
Thank you, candidates. The next question is, our school district is extremely diverse. What specific commitments will you make as a school board member to ensure that students from less privileged communities receive both equal and equitable access to high-quality educational materials in our school district? Yes, sir.
First of all, it's the law. You cannot have one school offering AP classes in history, chemistry, science, literature, and not offer it at another school. It should be mandated that they offer those classes. I, for years, used to almost cry. Richmond High with like 94 to 95% Latino students who speak Spanish, and yet there wasn't a functioning AP Spanish class until we pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. Education has to be offered to all the students. If it's AP Chemistry, offer it at all the high schools. You've got to be careful with that. Be equal to all the students. What you offer in one school, offer in the other. Which means you got to find a teacher, of course. Some schools get a lot of attention, unfortunately.
This is why I think it's extremely important for us to focus on all of our students, because our district is so diverse. I've said before, I live in Hercules. My kids go to school in Pinole. We have identified in this district, finally, that there is an achievement gap between the African American students and everyone else. And it's not just about African American students in low income situations. There are African American students in Hercules and Pinole who are not getting resources. So it's imperative that we educate all of our students. We can't just focus on one group of students. And I feel like we have been doing that. We try to focus on the underachievers and we unintentionally neglect everyone else. We cannot do that. We have to get every child where they are and educate them from there. It's it's imperative that we do that. We'll bring the district together as a whole if we can make sure every student has a quality education.
I think that what we have in our district, you are right, we have a very varied, very diverse district. And that means precisely that different campuses, different schools have different needs. And I go back to what I said earlier. I think that our schools need to have the freedom to design the instruction to meet the needs of the students in front of them. We cannot go on with this approach of one size fits all. If we have a school where only 2% of the students are proficient in math, and we have another school where 15% of the students are proficient in math, well, obviously the needs are different. We cannot have the same programs just because we are somehow, somewhere, someone mandates that we have the same programs. We need to change our instruction to fit the needs of the students in front of us, in front of every school, in front of every teacher. We don't have okay, you're about to pull out your sign. What we have is the achievement gap is an achievement
your time is expired.
gap. I didn't see the flies with scar, that's why. So I didn't
As the new state local control funding formula states it, we are a high need school. We're about 77%, whether it be low income, English learner, or foster youth. So we receive extra funding. And in regards to that extra funding, we're supposed to be servicing, improving or increasing the needs of those students that really need the most help. Sadly, when we're at the LCAP table, we're not looking at the data. We're not looking at test scores. We're not looking if the services are benefiting those students. So you're paying for funding centrally, but not really understanding if that school really needs that support. So we need to start looking at it differently and decentralize the funding and make sure that the schools that have those high need students receive those education. Don't follow the school the money. It's make sure that the money is following the student's need. And that's what currently is not being done. So we need to change how we look at the test board or how we're looking at their benchmark tests or whatever testing they're using in order for us to make decisions on what programs should benefit each school community.
So we keep hearing about this debate, right, between people who live in the hills and people who live in the flatlands, right? We keep hearing the flats. Well, I'm one of the flat guys, I have to admit, right? So I live on 23rd and Roosevelt. I live like smack dab in the middle of Richmond in a low-income area. So you don't have to worry about me making sure that I'm speaking up and advocating for low-income children. But what I really want to talk to you about right now is to let you know that even though that's where I come from, I will represent everyone on the board, regardless of where they live, regardless of what community they come from, because I understand that once I am on the board, if I'm fortunate enough to be there, then I'm there for everyone. But you don't have to worry about me advocating and making sure that low-income children get what they deserve and need.
So first of all, I'd like to make sure that all of the schools that serve our high-need kids, particularly in the flats, have a minimally adequate facility. That means they're all dry. They all lock. The windows work. That the plumbing works. That they can go to the drinking fountain and that works. First of all, every child ought to go to a school that has minimally adequate facilities. But beyond that, we need to look every school at what they need, and the way that happens is by getting the community a voice, getting the community clearly involved in the LCAP priorities, working with the school site committee, and then we need the principals to have more authority to spend that money on specific interventions that will serve the students at their schools. That also means that we need to be, instead of spending the LCAP money from the central site, the individual sites need to be able to spend their LCAP funds.
You know, my whole life, I fought for equal rights for everybody, because I truly believe in equal rights for everybody. But that one-size-fits-all model for our education is not always appropriate. As I think we can all understand that the needs here in El Cerrito are not the same as the same needs in downtown Richmond, which are not the same needs as the people in Hercules. You've got to tailor your programs for that community. What do they need in that community? And to that end, you've got to be culturally sensitive, because the types of people living in each different community is a little bit different, and their needs are going to be different. But one of the things I've run into, something that would be of great help to our students, internet access at home. We've got too many parts of our community, especially, for instance, where Mr. Phillips lives, downtown Richmond, where the kids have to wait until they get back to school the next day, or try to see if they can find a library that's open, so they can do their homework, because they have no internet access once they leave school. Get the textbooks that are up to date. You know, we had once where we had two kids sitting in the same waiting room with AP U.S. history. Sorry, one was 2012, the other one was 1991. Not the same.
Great, thank you, candidates. We have about 30 minutes left in tonight's forum, so we're going to proceed with this format. However, we're going to do it in sort of a speed round or lightning round fashion, where I'm going to shave 15 seconds off of your clock. So you each will now have 45 seconds to respond to each of the questions, and we're going to begin back down with Mrs. Young, and then try to make it all the way. And you will all have a 30-second warning. You will not have a 30-second warning. Jennifer has relieved herself of that duty. So great, so you have 45-second clock.
Okay.
Jennifer will only tell you when to stop.
Okay.
Any questions? Great, okay. So the next question comes from a member of our audience. As the parent of a child at a Title I school, where most of the kids eat most of their meals on campus, I am dismayed by the food options in the cafeteria. All food is processed with no real food options. Even the fruit is often served processed, packed in heavy syrup. If elected, how will you partner with food services and concerned community members to move away from packed foods and towards real food options?
So yeah, someone else told me about that at a soccer game, that they were only served for breakfast. They served sugary cereal. Okay, that's no good. Oh, I mean, this is simple to me. We have to spend a little bit more money. Okay, and we have to get quality food. That's what it comes down to. We can partner with I don't know if it's restaurants or, a lot of the schools have gardens and things like that. We can do things like that, but we have to spend a little bit more money for quality, and I think that's all we have to do. Quality is better.
Well, for 21 years, I've seldom ate the food at my cafeteria. I think that I would take a very different approach. I would promote school gardens, cooking classes, and I would like to take this opportunity to recommend a very good movie by Michael Moore, Where Should We Invade Next? Pay attention to the segment when he goes to France and goes to the French schools. That is the approach. I think that we should cook it in our own schools. We should, as much as possible, grow our own vegetables. And we used to have cooking classes in Richmond, and those were the few occasions where the teacher in charge of the class would invite me and I would partake of the delicious food that they prepared.
Thank you.
Currently within, I think, 2 schools in Richmond, they did the Richmond Policy Food Bar or Council. And it's interesting that these 2 schools, they have fruit or salad bar during their lunch hours. And unfortunately, not all schools, just based on how the cafeteria is set up, we can't have it. And it's sadly to see that all the meetings I attend with the district, we have delicious food. We have sandwiches, we have yogurt, we have breakfast for the parent university. And it's sad that we can't even have this food for our children. So why are we providing the adults with the best food and our children with insignificant food? So we need to really look at what's going on with why is it that you choose to provide these people with ham sandwiches, cheese, crackers, fruit, yogurt, and our children aren't even getting the same quality service.
I have a cousin who lives in Washington State, and she is a lunch lady. I mean, a real lunch lady, as in they cook food up there. And I would love to see us bring that back in this district. I would like us to have a real nutritional program. I would like to see us hire classified employees that are actually able to be in the kitchens at different schools preparing food for our kids like it used to be. That's what I would like to see. And that's one of the things I would advocate for if I was on the school board. Thank you.
I certainly support trying to get something better to our kids and something healthier and something more natural to our kids than we're doing right now. But the way the question was phrased, I'm a school board member, I'm supposed to be setting policy, I'm not supposed to be partnering with food service, that reeks of meddling with district staff. I don't think I should be doing that. At the same time, I would certainly be advocating from the board and talking to my superintendent about we need to give our kids healthy options, not just try and get them a certain number of calories and grams of protein every day.
One of the things I do is I administer the Ivy League Connection Scholarship Program. In the past couple of years, we were asking the question, if the superintendent were here right now, what could you tell them about your dining experiences at your school? Overwhelmingly, they said, give us fresh fruit, give us healthy foods, give us hot meals, no more mold. I said, no more rotten foods. Here's the solution to the problem. Require the superintendent, require all 5 board members to dine at one of our schools at least once a month.
I agree with all the comments about good, fresh food. Richmond High has a garden, and some of our middle schools have gardens. You can't grow enough to feed a student population of 1,000, 1,500. But we run into difficulties with the food services department of our district. Everything is prepared there and then taken to the schools. We have to devise a way of getting more fresh fruit to our schools. That's an absolute necessity. You ask any high school senior, rate the food in the cafeteria, and they all, from all the schools, say, it's awful. So we have to do something about it. Fresh fruit would be great. Salads would be great. When I taught them...
Thank you. Jennifer, you're really effective. All right, the next question. This is another question from a member of our audience. Teachers and substitute teacher recruitment is problematic in our district. Many schools are not fully staffed. What new approaches would you push as a member of the school board to increase the number of teachers and substitute teachers serving our students each year? And Mr. Tadwat, it's your turn to go first.
To increase the number of teachers, we need more money. Okay, we need more money, and so I think that we should engage in a strong lobbying effort. There is currently a bill online sponsored by Hancock Mitchell to make the commercial property tax code fair, and a good share of that money would come to our schools, and that's the one solution. That's also the one solution to having small class sizes. We need more money, and we need to make the state pay up what they owe us. Okay? They still coming short in the local control funding formula. And so I think that should be one of the tasks of our board and our superintendent, lobbying for more money.
I would have to double that with some more funding. We need more funding to have more teachers. We have class sizes that are about 30 to 40 elementary level, and it's not sufficient to really have that one-on-one time with those students or to give the attention they need for quality education, right? So how do we get those funding to have quality teachers as well as subs? We need those quality subs. I know we have families that either mothers go into labor, teachers that have to have it, they get sick, but we need to make sure that our substitutes are also qualified to provide that learning, continuous learning for those students. But it's how do we get the funding for that?
Just want to back up just for a moment. I don't think it's meddling to try to put forward a policy saying that we should cook food in our schools. I think that's your job as a board member to make decisions, and we cannot put everything on our superintendent and pretend that he's the one that was actually elected to public office. As far as the teachers are concerned, I am one of the endorsed candidates of the teachers, and that's because they believe that I will make the decisions and take the policy positions that do support the kinds of things that you're talking about. One of the reasons we do have less substitute teachers and have difficulty getting them in our district is that we pay substantially less than the districts surrounding us. So the subs prefer to go to Albany, for example, than to come here.
No one can argue that our teachers are not underpaid, but there's some things we can do. We need to make teachers want to work here. You know, better pay would be one. But for example, I would want to see if I could be working with people in Sacramento to help come with a bill to forgive student debt for teachers if they work in our low-performing schools. I think we should look for opportunities to build teacher housing here, and the small housing movement fits in that on surplus district land. In fact, Mark Lando from San Francisco got a bill passed that related just to San Francisco, but that could well be extended to other areas as well. And I think just giving teachers better support, more support in the classroom will make them want to work here as well.
More money, more money, more money. That would help quite a bit to attract the teachers and get them to stay here. And don't ask me where we're going to get more money, because I don't have the answer to that one. Anybody here tells you otherwise, they're lying to you. But I've talked to an awful lot of our teachers that have departed, kind of an exit interview from them. And what they say that they need, as much as more money, is support. They're not getting the support from the kids. They're not getting support from the parents who think that all their kids are perfect angels. They're not getting support from the administrators who are afraid that a parent is going to complain downtown and make their school look bad. They're not getting the support from the district staff. They're not getting the support from the school board. And somebody will even say they're not even getting the support that they need and want from their own union. Give them more support, they're going to stay.
Support the teachers, better pay, obviously. For the subs, we need to find out as early as possible how many teachers are not coming back for the following year and begin to hire them before the end of the school term. Look for those teachers. We have an absence of teachers in the entire state of California. My grandkids in Southern California had to hire 125 new teachers. It's a huge district. San Francisco was faced with they needed like 800 teachers for this coming school year. So a lot of people are retiring and leaving education. Treat them well, give them a decent pay and decent benefits, and hopefully get subs who know the subject. That's important, because otherwise students will be wasting the time.
So I was a substitute teacher in both Oakland Unified School District and West Contra Costa Unified School District. The pay wasn't that different, only a difference of $4, so it made more sense for me to stay here. But I will say that in terms of approaches to get more teachers, I think we need, in the long run, we need to grow our teachers. And what that means is I have some friends that are teachers and they grew up here as well, and they say that I'm not a teacher because of the money, but this is where I'm from, so this is where I want to be. And so I think that if we really encourage students in high school, junior high, about teaching, and we do these academies that we have throughout the district, we can start bringing in our own teachers from our own area. And then the other thing is, again, I haven't talked about it before lately, but a holistic environment is what we need. Teachers will be able to teach the way they want to.
Thank you. We try really hard not to cut candidates off at this forum.
It's okay.
But Jennifer's doing a great job.
Sorry.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, we have time for one more question in our lightning round session, and then we'll give each of you 1 minute to make closing remarks. The question is, do you have a plan to enhance the voice of youth and to boost youth leadership within the school district?
It's kind of hard to get youth to speak up and participate at the LCAP. We've had these seats open for the youth and they don't attend. I'm not sure if they're not advertising going on at the high school levels or what's going on, but I do understand they have the youth commission. And I've heard a lot of great things when they came to present to an LCAP committee, a bunch of ideas that they have in order for them to improve academic or how to outreach and do different programs. But it is, how do you advertise to the youth to make an impact for their own education? It's how do we get that leadership? I know there's incentive that they were trying to give them, but we need to get these youth to understand that we need to hear from them before they can move forward. I know they have participation at the school site levels as well for the middle school and high school. but are they really participating? Are they really being informed on how their voice can be heard?
One of the things that I would like to do is surveys. I would like to survey students at every level, elementary, middle, high school, asking them things about their experience. For example, we talked about lunches earlier, but not just lunches, about programs, about extracurricular activities, about their schools in general, about the climate. What I want to do is make sure not just that the students have a voice, but that there are actually people listening to them. Because the district has meetings all the time, right? Where there are meetings and then what happens with the information. So there really is a two-step to make sure that we do the surveys and engage them in other ways, but then make sure that we actually listen and incorporate where we can.
I think the voice of the students is really important, and our trustee, Mr. Groves, he's been a big advocate of getting student positions on a number of our different committees. That's really important. I think one thing that we could do to get them more involved is to offer them mentoring and to give them credit for going to those classes. I mean, this is a leadership role. If they're on a district committee, I think they should be getting credit for that. And then beyond that, we need to make sure they understand the functions of the different committees, and also the different committees meet at different times, because some kids have jobs, sometimes have sports. We need to make sure that they understand those committees they go to at different times. And if they're getting credit for that, they might be more favorably interested in doing that.
You know, we could do a lot more, that's for sure, but we are already reaching out to our students. We have student school board members, we have student members of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, but this is only a start. You know, in the city of Richmond, we got a youth commission where they're supposed to have 18 people on there, 18 young people on there. They even pay them to be on there. And guess what? We have only 6. We can't get the young people to want to reach out to be a part of this youth commission. I said, you need to make it so they can get their service learning requirement out of the way by serving on some of these commissions and boards. But the board itself needs to reach out to the individual communities, the students there, and talk to them one-on-one. And with my work with the Ivy League Connection, I'm working with hundreds of young students, listening to everything that they have to say, because just because they're young people doesn't mean that they don't have the best ideas.
The District Youth Commission is one vehicle, but you have to listen to their recommendations. They complain about the food too. At the high school level, wouldn't it be marvelous, since our students have to take government and economics, that in the government class, well, both, probably the government class, take a week off and look at the local control funding from it and how it affects the local school? Because then the students will ask, you mean we can get extra money for tutoring, extra money for classes after school, extra money for classes on Saturday? And there you engage the voice of the student, and you will engage the parents if you tell them that. So involve the students at every single level. I was hoping to see more students, for example, at the election sites, but students can do that and get community service credit for that. Thank you.
Can I have the question again?
Sure, as the microphone comes back down your way. Do you have a plan to enhance the voice of youth and to boost youth leadership within the school district?
So what I think we should do is we need to actually go to where the students are. I was really involved. I was in leadership when I was in high school, and I asked my kids, you know, why don't you get in leadership? Mom, that's for dorks. Mom, that's for squares. Why is that? And I wasn't a dork or a square when I was in high school. So what is it that's missing in terms of why the kids don't want to be involved? We have to go down to where they are. They do rallies and things like that. We could go down there and have discussions with them where they are. What is it that you guys are upset about? What is it that you like? What don't you like? Get all the students, they're right there, they can't leave, to answer your questions. Find out what they want, ask them, they'll tell you. They have a lot of things to say, and it's not about where the money is and all of this kind of stuff. They have a lot of other things they want to talk about. But we can go down there, talk to them, listen to them, and start making some changes. Down to the schools.
I think the students are already talking to us. Perhaps we are not listening, or we don't like what they're saying, but they're talking to us with their apathy and with their silence. and withdrawing from their own lives. I think that I would engage the students more directly in their instruction, in the workings of the district, in the workings of their own life. They spend almost a quarter of the day in our schools, and I think they should be more involved with what they are doing, particularly how they are taught, what they are taught. Those should be relevant issues for students. They also should be directly involved in discipline. I don't think that we should use some of the disciplinary measures that we use right now. It's upside down.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, you'll each have 1 minute to give a closing statement to the members of the audience. And Mr. Phillips will begin with you.
Thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you all. I'm going to stick around a little bit after this is over to answer questions. But my family has been in West County for 5 generations. I say that because I want you to know that this is my home. I behave that way, I treat it that way, this is where I am and this is where I'm going to be. My grandmother was the first one of our family members to actually attend school here. She went to Richmond. Richmond Union, but a long time ago. Now I have my own child in the district. This is where I live. And I promise this is where I want to be. I promise that if you elect me to this board, I'll do everything that I can to make sure that your children and your grandchildren, your nieces and your nephews, that they get what they deserve, that they get what you're paying for with your taxes. I want to be your voice on the school board, and I will be accessible, and I will do everything that I can to make sure that our community thrives. Thank you.
So as I said before, every child has a constitutional right to a great education. My kids got that. Some of you kids are getting that, maybe some aren't. We need to be sure that every kid is getting a great education, because this is all about the kids. I've got a long history and reputation around here, and I want to continue to serve my community. I see just so many great opportunities for us to do a lot better in our schools. There's many things we can look at. Work with our new superintendent to get improved academic performance for all schools. We need to make sure we're always engaging our parents, our students, our teachers, and listening carefully to our community. We need to be focused on our teachers and focused on teaching and getting them great support, making sure they get great professional education. We need to be really careful about our transparency and our oversight and our accountability, make sure we are holding people responsible for outcomes, and we need safe schools. Strong schools empower our communities, and I ask you to vote for me. Thank you.
The others here have told you about the good things that they hope to do if they're on the board, and I'm going to tell you something about what I've been doing. And so for the past 11 years, I've been administering the Ivy League Connection Scholarship Program, and I have helped to change lives. This is the most successful program in the history of our district, where we've significantly expanded the college-going culture in the district. As in the past 8 years, or the first 8 years of the program, as the percentage of graduating seniors that have matriculated to college has increased by a whopping 75%, from 47% to 82%. I said that is significant, as we've also played a key role in helping our kids get into highly selective schools and getting someone to help to pay for their education. Conservatively, that's more than $6 million in financial aid these kids don't have to pay back. I said, I don't know about everything that we need to know on a board member, but I know an awful lot on there. I said, but I won't have to go to school to learn about the issues that are being in front of you. Don't you need people like me on the board? I said, it's going to reach out to our teachers, our students, and our parents as to learn what they need to be educated. Vote for me, Don Gosney.
We need to increase school safety, make schools so attractive and so interesting the students will want to stay in the schools, not leave us for other schools. It is true that we have the Ivy League connection, but we also have Middle College, one of the best middle colleges in the United States, because the students are taking college classes and also high school classes. We need to listen to the parents. Transparency, transparency, transparency. For our school board, for our teachers, but also for the charter schools. Where are they spending the money? Some of you voted for me back in 2007. I look for your vote again. I want to serve the community. Gracias. Thank you.
I want to just thank everyone for coming tonight. I want to just say that I really love this community. This community consists of all of these cities, these schools. Like I said, I grew up in Pinole. Both me and my husband graduated from Pinole Valley High School. Now we are raising our kids in this district. And so we really want to see the success of all the students in this district. I ran because I'm there every day. I'm in the schools, I'm talking to parents. I know what the concerns are, and I want them to be addressed. I have a positive attitude. I don't take no for an answer. I'm a hard worker. I like to tell people that I had 3 babies while in law school, okay? So I know how to get the job done. I know how to work. Someone told me, if you think a few good ideas and a good attitude is gonna work, then you need to do some more research. That's really pathetic. We need to have a better attitude, and we need to have some good ideas, and we need to work together and change this district around. We can do it. It's not just talk, talk, talk. We can get in there, we can work, and we can make some changes. Please vote for me on November 8th. Thank you.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for this opportunity to address these important issues, and also for listening to your questions. I gather your concerns, and believe me, they are shared by many people in our district. I believe in public schools. I believe in public education. I think that financial responsibility and a good public education is the best safeguard for democracy. If you elect me, you will have your best ally. I will give you my best effort, and I will always be available for you. Educating our children is a shared responsibility. It's an investment in our future, and I will protect it to the end. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting the 3 nights that we attended. As a parent, I have a long term to go. My oldest is a 6th grader, and my baby's a 1-year-old, so I'm not leaving the district anytime soon. I still got 18 more years to follow through, and the decisions that I make on the board are going to impact both the families that I've been working with, as well as my children and any other family that I've come to know. So it's more of a, I guess I want to say I want to make a difference for the needs of the kids. It's not more of my benefits, it's the struggles I already seen with most of the schools I've attended, most of the schools that families that I know, multiple schools. It's a struggle, and we need to make sure that we can start changing the leadership, how it goes, and how making sure that the schools become a community where it's all united to make sure that our students are succeeding and reaching their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. It's been a lot of fun, but the clock on the wall says it's time for all of us to go home. But on behalf of this community and the League of Women Voters, we would like to thank you and appreciate you for stepping up. And I also just really briefly would like to ask the audience to please give a round of applause to my amazing timekeeper, Jennifer.
Can we get a round of applause for our audio tech in the back? This is the first time we've had microphones at work.
And a round of applause to yourselves for coming. Thank you very much for coming. I believe all the candidates will be sticking around for a short while tonight, so you're more than welcome to engage with the candidates. With that being said, thank you all, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Very good.